Let's look again here at our invoice worksheet, and let's consider that this worksheet might be used by someone unfamiliar with working in Excel. We may want to help them to know what to enter into a cell and to check that what they enter is correct. For example, for this quantity here, we want to ensure that the user always enters a value. So I'm going to select over all the quantity cells. And from the Data tab on the ribbon, I'm going to select Data Validation. And this opens the Data Validation dialog at the Settings tab. This tool lets me limit the data that can be entered into this column, and I'm going to select whole number so that ensures that the items or the quantities that are entered into this column are always whole numbers. Now this value needs to be a value greater than 0, so I'm going to select greater than and then type 0. Now I'll go ahead and add an input message. This is the message that will appear on the screen, letting me tell the user what they need to type in the cell. You don't have to use an input message, and for a column of values like this, it will be just plain annoying. But I'm going to do it so you can just see how it works and perhaps also see how annoying it would be. I would use this if I just had one cell that I wanted to tell a user what they're supposed to enter in that cell, perhaps the state value here, but for a column of numbers it's going to be very, very repetitive. However, let's just type it. So I'm going to type quantity, and then my message to the user is going to be, please enter a whole number greater than 0. And then we can select an error alert. And again, we don't have to do this, but if we do, we get 3 choices. We can use stop, warning, or information. Now, stop is a error message that stops the user from putting incorrect data into the worksheet. So they can't put anything that doesn't match this setting, which is a whole number greater than 0. If we were to choose warning or information, then they'll get a warning or an informative dialog, but they will be able to add an incorrect value. In this case, I want to cover the situation where perhaps for some reason a fractional value may need to be entered. So I want to warn the user that it's probably an incorrect value, but if they check it and it is correct, then they will still be able to add it. So I'm going to put a title here of not a valid value, and then I'm going to ask them to check this. And now I'm done. I'll click OK. And you can see now whenever we click in a cell in this column, we're told what to do. And you can also see that over a period of time that would be extremely annoying. If I type the number 1, it's a whole value greater than 0. There is no problem with that. If I try and type -2, I'm going to see the warning, not a valid value, check this please, but I am able to go ahead if this were a valid value and put it in. Of course, -2 is definitely not, so I'll click no. And now I get a chance at putting the correct value in. And let's try 1.5. Again, we get not a valid value, but we do get the choice again of being able to enter that value, and if we really did want to sell 1.5 inkjet cartridges, we could go ahead and do so. Now, because we've got data validation in this particular column, we can also use the data validation to check the accuracy of the data in the column. I'm going to select the column of data, and from the data validation drop-down list, I'm going to ask Excel to circle any data that does not match the data validation that we set up. And Excel is circling the 1.5. This is giving me a heads up that perhaps there's an incorrect value here, and I can check it. So you can use data validation not only to help your user, but also to find incorrect values. To disable this data validation, clear validation circles.